Hey, peace. What's happening, everyone? On I deal with.
Recognize royalty. Recognize royalty. Gotta recognize it. Recognize royalty. Like they ain't got eyes to recognize royalty.
Yo, the OJ trial is the shit. That man Haskell kept when people say I ain't interested in that shit. Man Haskell, like, how the fuck y'all? The OJ trial? Are y'all serious? Like, impossible. Like, you something got to be wrong with you if you know about the OJ trial and say you're not interested in that shit. That shit is American theater, right? At its highest level, and it's a snapshot at our society in the 90s.
Are you talking to me, Chef?
What?
Nah, just when you said people were hating on the idea of this being good content. I think I was one of them who was critical of it. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll take that. But it was a very good presentation, though. I think just both of y'all being there, it was very clear. There wasn't any noise, and it was just a good show. The information, you know what I mean, and it's something else. But the presentation of it, I thought was well done. Yeah.
Well, let me say something, AD. I really didn't present much information, right? Because I'm giving commentary for the most part. All the 90% of the information was literally the court testimony. So I don't know what, when you say you didn't necessarily find the information to be as appealing, as compelling as the actual putting together and the structure. What in particular are you referring to?
For one, it wasn't any new information. For one, you were just showing the information that was already presented by his team, and it's actually the case that they chose not to present at the civil case, because they didn't think it was this idea about evidence being tampered with or planted. They didn't really focus on that in the civil trial, and it was the same lead attorney. It was still Johnny Cochran who chose not to really focus on that. And I think so. What's happening is that you're pretty much just picking up what they chose to put down.
No, his representation wasn't Johnny Cochran in the civil trial. It was a guy named Petroselli, and he had some other attorneys.
I do think Johnny Cochran was involved, though.
Well, he wasn't an attorney on it, but
no, I definitely think he was involved in that case.
So you were aware of, for example, and it's funny that you bring up the civil trial, because I brought in one of the quotes from the civil trial from Cato Kalin, where he talks about seeing the four officers looking for the Bronco key. Right? Were you aware of that bit of information?
No, but again, I'm sure his lawyers were, and they didn't really choose to do much of anything with it, or it didn't help him, or it didn't help him in the civil case.
Yeah. So what I'm pointing out is they pretty much made the same arguments in the civil case, right? Insofar about the planned evidence, because as I pointed out, the thing about getting the Bronco keys was actually, that transcript was actually from the civil trial. So they took on the same tack in terms of what they were, their argument to say that OJ didn't do this. It was the same tack, absolutely. So that's incorrect.
I think they may have said, they may have repeated the fact that the evidence was unreliable, but they didn't say much of, if anything, about it being planted. Like, they just didn't focus on that because they didn't have, and everything, like the main thing that you presented tonight was just people saying that, we know that police departments plant stuff on people, right? But that's all, that's the only evidence, that's what they were presented as evidence. There was no evidence that Furman or anybody else planted any of it, any
Exactly. I'm
evidence
glad you
anywhere.
picked up on that.
So wait a minute. So the glove being out there for 7.5 hours, yet being still wet and sticky, that doesn't go towards evidence. That's just people talking.
No, it doesn't. It's just speculation. You're just speculating, but it's not direct evidence. There was no evidence of like things like, you know what I mean, Furman's fingerprints anywhere, eyewitnesses, people seeing him plant stuff.
No, I'm talking specifically about the glove being wet. That's not speculation. That's a matter of fact.
What are you implying when you say the glove is wet? What do you think that proves?
There's no way that glove can be wet, American Dream, after 7.5 hours. So Furman planted. Yeah, well, maybe you just don't follow. Arguments well.
No, I understand what you're saying. It's wet, and it's been there too long to still be wet. So he must have just wet it a while ago. That's what you're saying. It's not that difficult, bro.
No. That's not what that is. The claim here is No, it's not. When the claim here that I'm making is, when Furman testifies to walking up Bundy Drive and going to the north side of the property, right by the gate where Ron Goldman's body is crumpled, right? And he says he goes over in that little area where it's dark. The closest officer is more than 20 feet away. He was there for 5 seconds, blah, blah, blah. What the narrative is that he took the glove from there, put it in a plastic bag, put it in his sock, took it to Rockingham and planted it. And the actual physical evidence would substantiate that. Now, the counter to that is...
You're just speculating, bro. You're just speculating that that's what happened. You have no evidence that that's what happened.
Hold on. Listen,
in a murder case,
right? Both sides are presenting a narrative, right? When the prosecution says that you gotta do more than a narrative, bro. You gotta have evidence to back up your narrative, and they didn't have the evidence. All they had was the narrative. Well, I said the prosecution. I'm not talking about the defense now. I'm talking about the people who y'all agree with. The people who are saying that he did it, the prosecution. No, we're talking about the planting of the evidence, and it was the defense that was making that argument. So we're talking about the defense. Hold on, no. Can I make my point? Can I make my point? But you had 2 hours to make your point. Bruh, I could get through this point quick if I stop getting cut off. Looks like we're going to need a moderator. Looks like we may need a moderator for this part of the show as well. No, I just need you to stop cutting me off. I'll be quick, right? So when he said, just stop talking, bro, please. You don't like when people do that. You're not being very quick. No, but you don't like when people do that to you, Dream. Don't do that, bro. Like you don't like when people do it. Like, so what I'm saying is both sides of the aisle are speculating. When the prosecution says that the figure or whoever did it bumped into the AC and dropped the glove, and that's how it got there, that's speculation, right? So it's competing speculations. So what it boils down to is, what is more plausible? Is it more plausible that this man bumped into the thing, dropped the glove at 11:45, and then at 7:15, when they find the glove, it's still wet and sticky? Does the wet and stickiness more jive with that, or does it more jive with the glove being in a plastic bag and being planted there much more closer to 7:15?
Is that a question? Is that a question you want me to answer?
Yeah. Because you acknowledge that both are speculation. Yeah, what I'm saying is... So which speculation more... You asked me a question. Which speculation comports more with the physical evidence? The prosecution or the defense, insofar as the wetness of that glove?
According to the prosecution, theirs, and according to the defense, theirs is more reliable or more likely to have occurred. Both sides, but regardless of who thinks their side is more likely to have occurred, it's still speculation. And what we're talking about here is this talk about evidence being planted. And that's the defense that made that case. And all they had was just that speculation. They had no evidence of Mark Fuhrman doing anything. They didn't have his fingerprints anywhere. They didn't have anybody seeing him do anything. There was just no evidence to back up that story that you're saying. And that's why it wasn't even taken to the civil case, because they realized that given that that's all they had was speculation, that shit is not even worth taking with us. So what they took was what they felt was a stronger case, was just to say that the evidence was not reliable, but not because it was planted, just because there was some other problems with it that made it unreliable. But they didn't focus on that. So again, what you're focusing on is what his lawyer's team decided not to focus on, and I think for good reason. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm like, you know, it's not as if his lawyers don't know. Like Haskell, let me ask you, Haskell, what do you think you've presented tonight that his team did not look at? Or like, what argument do you think should have been made that they did not make? Because right now, I don't hear you saying anything new. Like, it's as if, you know what I mean? When you present what you're saying, it's as if you think that his lawyers didn't make a good enough case about something, like there was something that they missed. They should have shown this, but you haven't shown anything like that. It's as if you're just saying the jury just made the wrong decision. The jury looked at the same evidence, but they just made a bad decision. Like, what do you think you're presenting that's new?
Well, what was presented tonight was for the people in the Discord, the audience, and posterity. So it wasn't about trying to bring anything or show that the defense could have done anything better. And how would I get anything new? It's dealing with a case that's 30 years old. Like, obviously, I'm going to get the information that was presented at trial. That's the thing that's most pertinent. So the question that you're asking, you know, really it's a non-starter of a question. And to be honest with you,
what I'm saying is,
hold on. The question that you're asking, I don't want to keep talking. I want some other people to join in. But the question of newness is completely irrelevant to what's being presented here. It's really kind of remedial. But
right. No, I'm saying, like, you know what I mean? Because everything you've stated is what was stated at the civil case, or what the lawyers chose not to mention. You know what I'm saying? And for some reason you think the jury just got it wrong. Like, that's all I'm saying is, like, you're not really saying anything that wasn't already known by all the lawyers present, that they didn't make that case either in the criminal trial or in the civil case. And what they didn't bring to the civil case was the stuff they thought was a weak argument. And it's their weak argument that you're focusing on and claiming that it's strong. So for some reason you think that if they had brought in this weak argument into the civil case, they would have won the civil case. And I just think you're wrong. I just think that argument, since they had no evidence, that argument would not have swayed the jury to think that now it's more likely that he didn't do it. Like, what you presented doesn't now make it seem more likely. Maybe it did to Brass, because apparently Brass was convinced, because, you know, he said you did a masterful. He seemed to be convinced, but, you know, I don't really think it would have moved the needle, and I don't think it does anything to say now, given all the other evidence that was provided. And in the civil case, they were a lot more thorough with that evidence. They were able to work with DNA a lot better, and they were able to present their case a lot more thoroughly. And then OJ was an idiot and went on the stand, and that killed him as well, because they realized just how he was answering the questions. He just was unreliable, and the jury just didn't believe him. So, you know what I mean? Like, the case against him at the civil trial, I just don't see where what you're saying could have done anything really.
I want somebody else to jump in. I don't want to keep talking. I want some other people to join in.
I want you to listen very, very carefully.
Tell the youth them to be strong. You can't tell the youth them to preach wrongs. While you trod it on these lands, just remember every man is equal. Yeah, each one teach one. And a father God, him a the only done. So make we ease and reason. Smoke trees, span the ends, all the deep meds. Take a look at life and don't close your eyes. Sometimes things happen and it's no surprise. And I just, so it go, so it go, so it go, so it go. It's a government, no have no heart, them no care about poor people. Yeah, bigger heads no love people again. Them more sad than Hitler them. Me see friends now reason again. Vex through whistle a blame. More time it hurt me to see how the face deal with the eagle of them. Regular me see it a pain. Regular me see it a pain. Take a look at life and don't close your eyes. Sometimes things happen and it's no surprise. And I just, so it go, so it go, so it go, so it go. It's a government, no have no heart, them no care about poor people. Social commentary, drop the one your principle, you don't know the global will come and do it. Some people life every day it's stress. The high price from JPS, that topic is currently. Jah alone him a go help you. We need food and we no healthy. We a feel the pain, beg you protect we. In a life we have no envy. Take a look at life and don't close your eyes. Sometimes things happen and it's no surprise. And I just, so it go, so it go, so it go, so it go. It's a government, no have no heart, them no care about poor people.